careful, Chief. That elite was an ultra.
I just identified the secret combination. I have the secrets. And you're going to have to subscribe to my course so that I can teach you the true way of interpreting the gospel, so that you too can use your spirit, your discernment, to identify the shape-shifting reptilians in our government through the art of the Frankfurt School and cultural Marxism and globalism and DEI and LGBTQ and feminism. Just third wave, though, have taken over our government. George Soros is a globalist, but he's not a communist. And there's a Fabio socialist with the deep state. And then the Marxists are on the side of the lizard men. And the lizard men are over there with the interdimensional beings who have had a slight squabble over who has to do the dishes at the DMT parties. They don't think that the machine elves clean up after themselves. Anyway, subscribe to my course. It's only 10 payments of $19.99. Joseph Smith said that if we don't start right, we won't end right. So let's start right, okay? So much has been done to disavow identitarianism, and that's the real problem. It's identitarianism. Let's talk about Mormon identity. It all goes back to the beginning, and there's a lore, folklore, myth, whatever you want to call it, of the idea of British Israelites, which is basically the British equivalent of wee wuzzing. The Book of Mormon says that this wee wuzzing isn't wee wuzzing, but it's wee ising, in that it's true. If the Book of Mormon is true, then the myth of the British Israelite is not false. It is true. And the people of northwestern Europe are scattered Israel. And if you don't accept that, then you inherit all sorts of problems when it comes to trying to defend the gospel. If you don't accept that Britain is literally Ephraim, and they are literally a remnant of Joseph through Nephi's family, if you can't accept that, then there's all sorts of problems. We gotta disavow, well, Freemasonry, the wires, all this stuff there. Well, Freemasonry is British, and according to legend, goes back to the temple. Maybe it's not the Temple of Solomon. Maybe it's the Temple of Nephi. If you believe in British Israelite stuff, then you don't need to worry about Freemasonry. It becomes a non-issue. Well, what about polygamy? It doesn't make sense that God would say, raise up seed. That doesn't even make sense, because you can't increase the number of births because you can't increase the number of women. Well, if it's about lineage, polygamy is still pretty hard to stomach, but at least it makes more sense. There's almost like a eugenics thing. Oh, but that's identitarianism. I don't know. Brigham Young said that Ephraim has the right to rule in the church. Ephraim has a right to rule in the government. And he says that no one with a single drop of Canaanite blood should be ruling over us. He specifically said that. And they can have their rights, but they can't have the right to vote, and they can't have the right to rule. Oh, well, Brigham Young's just a big racist. Okay. Brigham Young's just a big racist then. And so is Ezra Taft Benson. Ezra Taft Benson was engaging in witch hunts in the McCarthyist era against helpless, innocent people. Okay. Clearly things start to fall apart. That's just the point I'm trying to make. If you can't understand our identity as, the heirs of the restored gospel, then we're never going to reach a solution on who the identity of the originators of all these bad ideas are and where they're coming from. And we're just going to end up talking about lizard people. We're going to end up talking about cultural Marxism or word salad-ism. It's the word saladers. Anyway, that's the point I'm trying to make. So until you are willing to make that jump, I really think that the entire gospel doesn't make any sense unless you make a decision about that. And I think almost everything swings on it, because who is God and who we are and how we are related to Him is basically everything that Mormonism is about. We know that God is our ancestor, that we are His children, and that there are particular lineages with particular blessings. And this all comes because of the plan of salvation, in which we had our first estate, which was a spiritual existence, and there was a war in heaven, and based on your decisions in the war in heaven, we were sorted into different lineages in this life with different blessings and different privileges and different challenges that are unique to us and are given to us by God. Both the challenges and the blessings have been given to us by God to help us grow and help us to overcome whatever character traits we developed in the previous life. And this has been disavowed as the biggest, most racist doctrine ever, to suggest that not everyone fought exactly the same and was exactly the same loyaltiness in the pre-existence, and everyone was rewarded with equity and peace and goodness. To suggest something so heretical is just crazy. And we used to know that, but now we know it's not been replaced with a better understanding of lineage. It's been replaced with I don't know-ism, and I don't know-ism is useful only in as much as it leads you to an answer, but I don't know-ism is not an answer in and of itself. And so God created the races, and God separated us and gave us different abilities and different blessings. And it is not our job in this life to correct that and say, no, we're all going to be of the same lineage, and we're all going to be getting the same universal basic income, and we're all going to be getting the same stuff. That's why communism is bad, because it's anti-clerical, and it's about breaking down God's purposes in this life. Whereas something like the United Order would be more about teaching correct principles so that people can govern themselves separately and that they can work together as a collective identity to overcome their shortcomings as a people. And that's why there's different tribes, different lineages with different blessings, different cursings, and they're promised to receive their blessings at different times. You could say, well, that's not fair. These people are going to receive their blessing first. Well, you could also say those people are on a shorter time frame. They've been given less time to achieve what God wants them to achieve, and others have been given more time to achieve it. Maybe that's the way we need to think about it. And in this life, everyone wants to accept that after how we perform in this life, that in the next life we'll be sorted into heaven and hell. But no one wants to admit that in this life we are sorted into heaven and hell. Some people are born in Beverly Hills, and other people, they're born in Haiti. And that's just not fair. That's not something a merciful, just God would do unless we haven't seen the full story, the full context. And that's what the plan of salvation is. And so, at the end of this telestial existence, there will be a resurrection, and we will have a millennial reign with a terrestrial existence. We will have a terrestrial body during the millennial reign, and then at the end, Satan will be loosed once again. There will be a resurrection of the damned, and we will die once again. And those who have proven themselves worthy in the terrestrial existence, living with Christ and doing whatever it is we need to do in that existence to live with Christ in peace for 1,000 years, to learn what we need to do and go into our final test. After that, we will be resurrected a final time and receive our final exaltation as celestial beings. And at that point, the earth will go from its terrestrial state to its celestial state. And I think at that point, the process starts again, at least from what I understand of what's been revealed. There may be many more things that are going to be revealed after that. Maybe that makes us big racists. It certainly doesn't jive with the teachings of the world on how lineage is a social construct. The tribe of Ephraim is a social construct. The difference between Nephites and Lamanites is a social construct. It's all just a social construct. And that's because they don't understand what we understand about the pre-existence and about God's plan. And so I think we should just lean into this. It makes things easier to understand, and it is an antidote to this kind of over-complex thinking when it comes to trying to identify the origin of evil as like some sort of mystical idea that comes out of the ether. It's just there are lineages that are blessed, there are lineages that are cursed. Through certain lineages have come nearly every invention. Every good invention known to man has basically come through a few lineages. And I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that a lot of these bad ideas are coming from cursed lineages of people who have been cursed through the curse of Cain, or people who have been cursed through killing prophets or killing Christ. Stuff like that. So we know when you kill a prophet, lineage gets cursed. So do be careful. And I think once you have that as a prerequisite, then you can start talking about the state of the world and how to fix things. Because if you don't have that good foundation, then you're just going to end up punching shadows, and the stuff you say is not going to make any sense. You just got to get the right framework, and that's your prerequisite for talking about issues. I think it's more important than talking about LGBTQ stuff, because bullying LGBTQ people doesn't make a lot of sense in the context of this, because, I've heard it argued before that, say, an American gay, someone like Charlie Bird, who's gay, they're much more Mormon than, say, a Somalian is Mormon, or a Haitian is Mormon. That's just the fact, and it's because of their lineage. The Zarahemites are considered Nephites. They're a distinct tribe, and they live in a distinct place, but they are considered Nephites. And anyway, in the Book of Mormon, it doesn't talk about ideas too much, other than, these people deny Christ, these people do bad things, and these people are of a particular lineage. And it doesn't get into the details of the particular nuance of their teachings. It's just like, yeah, these guys side with the Lamanites. These guys don't consider themselves Nephites. These guys deny Christ. They're not one of us. They don't consider themselves one of us. They don't like Christ. That's basically how it gets boiled down. And we don't need to talk about the exact details of what a Nehor believes, or the Zoramite religion, or the beliefs of the Gadiantans. It's just, yeah, they don't like us, and they have a bunch of propaganda lies that they believe that we, murdered them, and we did all these horrible things to them in the past, so now they want to chop off our heads. It's that simple in the Book of Mormon, and we don't need to overcomplicate it. Those are my thoughts as far as the doctrine of lineages. Being super critical to being able to interpret the world. Otherwise, we're totally lost, and we should basically just pack up and be done. Because all of Mormonism hinges on the idea that the British people are literally Ephraimites. And if they aren't, then I'm just not going to believe in it. So, we're literally Nephites, we're literally Ephraimites, and that's the truth. Or Book of Mormon is fake. That's my position, and I feel that it helps me to have a much more discerning view when it comes to politics. And I'm not so easily enchanted by the James Lindsays of the world. It's the deep state. No, it's not.